Rose tells Usado that they will both be part of the vanguard and fight on the front lines. Usado wonders about the other healers, but Rose explains they have different tasks. Usado feels unsure, but Rose encourages him to use their time to get stronger. The scene shifts to the Demon Lord's castle, where he asks Amila to lead their forces. Amila meets a demon doctor named Hyraluk, who shows her his latest monster prototype, called Baljanak. It looks like a snake monster defeated by Usado and Rose. Amila talks about how dangerous the healers are, especially their leader, who fights on the front lines. Amila hopes to kill her one day. Though Hyraluk says Amila can't fight since she's a commander, she plans to send the Black Knight. Next, Usado wakes up and gives fruit to a bear named Blurin. A rabbit named Kukuru also wants some, and Usado eventually gives in to its pleading eyes. Rose arrives, and Usado learns that the king has allowed Blurin to stay with the rescue team. Rose puts Blurin to work, and the bear seems scared of her. Usado is then given battlefield training where he has to carry Blurin and rescue the injured while being attacked by Rose's men. Usado finds the training tough, especially with constant attacks, but manages to keep going. Though tired after a few hours, Rose heals him and tells him not to lose strength when facing fear. Later, Usado runs around town with Blurin, and people are initially surprised but calm down when they recognize him as part of the rescue team. A fruit seller gives Usado a fruit for free, and he thinks about visiting his friends at the castle. A blonde guy, Orga, introduces himself as another healer. He's impressed Usado can handle Rose's training since he and his sister, also a healer, couldn't. Orga explains that he can heal others but not himself. He works with his sister to heal soldiers in times of need. Usado tells Orga that he'll be part of the vanguard, and Orga reassures him that if Rose chose him, it means she trusts him. Usado then visits the castle and sees Knight's training. He meets Suzune, who wants to pet Blurin, but the bear bites her. Usado heals her and mentions that he's also there to see Kazuki, who is away gaining experience. Meanwhile, Kazuki is preparing for an attack from the demon army with the help of sigils. Back at the castle, Suzune feels Usado is becoming more open with her, and she doesn't mind it. Usado reflects on how much he has grown since his old life. He doesn't want to stay safe while his friends are in danger. Later, Rose asks Usado if he's getting used to his training. He says he is, but he wants to train harder. Though he can't fight like the others, he's determined to save as many people as he can. Rose is pleased, and Usado feels like a true member of the rescue team for the first time. The next day, Rose tells Usado that the king has requested he accompany Suzune on her training outside the castle. Usado heads to the castle with Rose, wondering why he has to join Suzune's training. Rose explains he was also supposed to train with Kazuki, but since he just finished his own training, she refused. However, the king insisted, so Usado is joining for 3 days as a healer. At the palace, Suzune introduces her teammates, Oruku the knight and Korin the mage. Usado recognizes Oruku from the castle gate. Rose advises Suzune not to take Usado's healing powers for granted, as they can't bring people back to life. Rose gives no advice to Usado, but he's fine with that. Elsewhere, Kazuki is training despite being exhausted. His friend Celia worries about him, but leaves flustered after realizing she was touching him. Meanwhile, Suzune tries to pet Blurin, but Usado stops her. Blurin stumbles, and Suzune offers to carry him, but he falls on her, causing her to get hurt. Usado heals her and warns her to avoid injury before battle. Korin detects enemies nearby, and bandits appear, demanding valuables. Suzune is excited to face real bandits, while Usado isn't worried. The bandits plan to capture Blurin, but Suzune takes one down with thunder magic. Usado encourages her to keep attacking since he can heal her, which annoys her. Suzune defeats the bandits, and Oruku faces the leader. Wild boars suddenly charge, and Blurin protects Usado but gets hit, sending Usado and Suzune into a river. They fall down a waterfall and wake up on the shore. Suzune is embarrassed when she realizes Usado is fine. He heals a scar on her face and recognizes the area as the forest where he trained. With no food, they decide to camp for the night. Suzune admits she's never climbed a tree, making Usado wonder if she's from a rich family. He finds a cave for shelter and tells her to change her wet clothes. Later, they catch fish using Suzune's magic, dry their clothes, and cook the fish. Usado notices Suzune feeling shy around him. When they encounter venomous monkeys, Suzune gets poisoned by touching them, but Usado heals her. Back at the castle, Kazuki learns they're missing and tries to search for them, but Rose assures him Usado can survive and protect Suzune. After dinner, Suzune asks Usado if he wants to return home. He says no and shares that he feels more at home here. Suzune reveals she has nothing left in the old world and prefers this one, where she feels free. They both resolve to protect this world. Usado admits he used to see Suzune as unapproachable, but she says she'd rather be close to him than admired from a distance. The next morning, Blurrin finds them, followed by Aruku. Usado heals him, and they all head home, with Suzune believing Blurrin has decided to stay by Usado's side. The king is relieved to see Usado and Suzune safe. He apologizes, but Usado says he's used to it, surprising the king. Usado mentions trekking in his old world when he sees Rose. The king asks about his training, and Usado says it's going well, but wonders if Rose has conditioned him mentally. The minister suggests they rest, but Rose and Sigils are asked to stay. As Usado and Suzune walk away, Kazuki arrives with Celia, worried about them. Celia explains Kazuki was ready to search for them alone. Suzune teases him for being reckless, but Usado reminds her she was reckless too when she got bitten by a monkey. Suzune stops him from saying more. Kazuki says Rose told him Usado would be fine, and Usado thinks Rose has too much faith in him. Usado knows the real Rose and thinks Kazuki is naive. Usado and Suzune leave, and Celia notices Kazuki is getting closer to them. She wants to be his close friend and asks him to call her by her name, which he agrees to do. Meanwhile, the king discusses how wild boars attacked after the bandit fight, believing the monsters are fleeing the demon lord's army. Sigils says they'll be better prepared this time, and the king orders him to prepare the troops. The king asks Rose to check how close the demon lord's army is since she's the fastest in the kingdom. He also asks her to return as battalion commander, but she refuses, feeling guilty over her past. Rose admits she hasn't forgiven herself, despite accepting her subordinates' deaths. The scar on her eye serves as a constant reminder. She formed the rescue squad to save lives, not to fight. She's also seeking someone who can endure her harsh training. The king wonders if she means Usado, and Rose confirms it. She's determined to make him the perfect healer and leaves for the border. At the rescue squad houses, Tong gives Usado a note from Rose saying he has no training tomorrow, but needs to deliver a letter. Meanwhile, the demon lord's army is building a bridge under Amila's command. The Black Knight teases her for being too eager, but she reminds him she's in charge. Hyrule checks the bridge's progress, and Amila says it will be ready soon, allowing them to invade the Linger Kingdom. She gets a report of an enemy scout, but dismisses it, confident her army will arrive first. Suddenly, a tree crashes into the bridge, and Amila is shocked to learn that Rose threw it. Rose hopes this delay will buy them time and heads back to the capital. Usado searches for the place to deliver the letter, stopping at a fruit stall. The old lady offers him fruit for Blurrin, but he says he'll pick it up later. He arrives at a clinic run by Ururu and her brother Orga. Usado watches Orga use healing magic on a young boy. After delivering the letter, Orga grows tense. Usado asks Ururu why she quit the rescue squad, and she explains she didn't want to worry her brother. She couldn't handle Rose's tough training and was scared of her. Rose seems happier now, likely because Usado is her new punching bag. Orga is called for an emergency and asks Usado to help. Usado struggles to focus, fearing war will bring worse injuries. Orga calms him, telling him to believe in himself. Usado heals the injured. Later, a cat girl approaches Usado, showing him a vision of the demon army winning and Kazuki and Suzune being killed. She says Usado can change the future, but must repay her favor, leaving him shocked.